Hi, I'm Michelle Rowan, President and COO with Franchise Business Review. And today I get to talk with Lorenzo Bates. He is a franchisee of 360 Clean and has been with them since September 2017. So some great experience with the brand. And we're just going to learn a little bit more about Lorenzo's journey and a little bit more about the 360 Clean brand. So Lorenzo, thank you so much for jumping in on and chatting with us today about your experience with franchising and 360 Clean specifically.
Thank you so much, Michelle. Thanks so much for having me, and Happy New Year to you and the FDR team, FBR team. So glad to be here.
Thank you. Yeah, let's do this. Okay, so let's start with kind of where were you at in 2017? What were you doing before, and kind of what triggered you to start either looking specifically at 360 Clean or just franchising in general?
So I was in the corporate sector. My last, as I call it, job, my just over broke, was in pharmaceutical. I've always, wanted to be an entrepreneur. I looked at different sectors and all, and it always came out that janitorial was the fastest growing, business, out there and stuff with little or no overhead. And so even before I got into franchising, kind of dibbled a little bit, as, owning a janitorial company, but not on this scale right here. And so when I got into the franchise, it took me from zero to hero.
Yeah. So Lorenzo, that's interesting because I feel like when we talk to the general public, they seem to just know franchising as the big McDonald's, the Burger King. It usually tends to go to food or those kind of more national established brands. So it sounds like you were either part-time or somehow involved in a janitorial business that was not franchise related first. Is that correct?
That's correct. That's correct.
Okay. So then what kind of tuned you into the idea of a franchise? And when you started doing that research, what appealed to you about being part of a janitorial franchise versus doing it on your own?
Well, just that name recognition. I knew that the companies that I was going to as, my own, LLC, I didn't have the name recognition out there, and I could get the small companies and stuff. But if I wanted to get the bigger brands, I needed that name recognition. And so when I was first looking at, different franchises, I was looking at, number one, how long they've been in business, how do they operate, the systems they had. And that's why I chose 360 Clean. 360 Clean wasn't, it wasn't brand new, but it wasn't, it didn't have a lot of, and even to this day, they don't have a lot of franchises out there. They are real selective of who they pick. It was a long process even for me to get into, though. So, when I decided to go to them, it was a match made in heaven.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they have a great team. We've been working with them consistently since 2018. So right after you came on board, and yes, they're very smart about their growth plan, and that's awesome. So at that point in 2017, where you're starting to look or come into the brand, did you have a family? Did you have anyone that was helping you go through this research process?
Absolutely. My wife was very instrumental, in the whole process. You definitely want your partner to be on 100% on board. I mean, leaving pharmaceutical and just stepping out on faith into this was, it wasn't something we just jumped at doing it. I think I was doing both the pharmaceutical and my own franchise up until 2020, and after 2020, my business just it just grew, and so I had to make a decision. Okay, do I want to continue having my job, or do I want to take a leap of faith and start doing this full time? And I mean, since then I haven't looked back. It's been absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah. So what do you think that whole time frame was that you did your research specifically on the franchise of going into the franchise system?
Well, I would say it took me about 9 months to just look at different companies, researching different companies. A lot of companies, I mean, they offer not going to name any names, but they offer you a lot of stuff. But, I would say this, like it was one particular franchise I looked at that, everything looked good, but they just had so many franchises in this territory and, in the territory I was going to be in. And I didn't think that I could really make my mark or even make a lot of money, knowing that that was, 20 to 50 franchises and stuff. So that's why I chose 360. 360 at the time, they only had, I think, 4 or 5 franchises in my territory, and they haven't grown. Even after 5 years, they haven't grown that much in the territory. Maybe a couple more franchises in my territory, but they're, like I said, they're really selective of who they bring in, and if it's going to be a good fit for them. So, as they were interviewing me, I was also interviewing, the company too, to make sure it's the right fit for me.
Yeah, that's great. And so, Lorenzo, you said you were able to hold down your existing job while you started the franchise up for about 3 years. What was your time commitment to the franchise while you were working a full-time job?
Well, that's the thing about it, being in this industry, they kind of give you a lot of leeway on how far you want to grow. You can grow to the stage I'm at now, or you can grow less. So they didn't really give me any particulars like, okay, you got to be at this point by this time and all that. They kind of just left it for me. It was really on me, on where I wanted to be, where I saw myself in 5 years. And this is pretty much where I saw myself in 5 years. And I knew that at that point where I was still working, my job and owning the franchise, I knew at some point I was gonna have to make a decision what I wanted to do. And that's why I just chose to go ahead and walk away from the job and do this full time.
Yeah. And so, Lorenzo, what do you think were some of the important questions that you asked during your research, or steps that you took to kind of whittle it down to 360 Clean, or just make yourself feel that you'd done the homework and that you were picking the right brand for you?
Well, number one, I wanted to know the processes they had in place. Janitorial cleaning is not even about, I came in just thinking it's all about just cleaning toilets and mopping floors and all that, but it's not at all. This franchise has taught me so much. The business model that we have is, of course, we have the Jan Pro system that that's pretty much the way we clean, the chemicals we use, the applications we use and all that. But it's not so much about that. It's actually being a resource for your client and taking the pain away from your client, if you will. What I mean by that is, let's say you own a business, you're working for a business, you hire me as a contractor to clean that building, whatever. You don't have time to babysit me on what I'm doing. You have your own things to do. So it's my job to take that pain away from you and to make sure that everything on my end is covered. That's pretty much what we do.
Got it. Got it. And so what do you think are some of the most important skill sets for a person that's coming in to run a 360 franchise to have? Because you're not the person that's actually doing the cleaning. So what are those skills that help your business be really successful that you think they should have coming into the business?
I would say the first thing is relationship. You got to have a great relationship with both your internal customers and your external customers. Your internal customers being your employees, people that report to you, because if they're not happy, your external customers are not going to be happy. And so, that's one of the things that I would say would separate, a good leader from a bad leader if you don't have that relationship with both, internal and external customers.
Yeah, that's good. And so, Lorenzo, what is most of your day? What does it look like what are you doing most of the time that you're spending on the business?
Well, today I'm in my office, as you see, but it's not really so much being in the office. I could be at, home in the morning time, reading emails, seeing if there were any issues the night before, and it's just planning the day. Every day is not the same. I have over 60 accounts. I have supervisors and managers that help manage the processes too. So I'm not really in the day-to-day weeds of managing it, but you have to make sure that, you dot your I's and cross your T's. Like I said before, relationship is what it's all about. I want to make sure if a customer is emailing me, directly, I want to make sure I answer them in a timely manner and stuff. So.
Yeah. And so what do you think is the biggest challenge that you have as a business owner, as a franchise owner? What keeps you up at night, or what do you have to work really hard at?
Well, right now, I would say the biggest thing is employees, because of how everything has just changed. When I first started, let's say 5 years ago, you could, the standard rate was like $12 an hour for janitorial cleaners. That's gone from $12 to $15 an hour, and you still have to offer something else. Now, I always say my internal customers have a favorite radio stations that's called WIFM, and that means what's in it for me. So you gotta give them something, other than, just a paycheck, whether it's, health benefits or time off or something like that. So yeah, the biggest thing right now is just the employee turnover. That's one of the biggest things that.
Yeah, we're hearing that from most franchise brands. And are you able to connect with other franchise owners within 360 Clean, or is corporate able to help you with any ideas around those challenges with hiring and retention?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. We, that's one of the good things. And that's another thing I want to add too. When I looked at this franchise, their hashtag, so to speak, is 360 fam. They're all about family and connections. So we always network together. We're getting ready to have a franchise reunion next month in Charleston. This is the 15th year that 360 Clean has been in operation. So we'll meet, we'll see our other franchises and get to collaborate with them, discuss our best practices with them, and also see, what's the hurdles that they're having too. And, I regularly have meetings with different franchisors and just to see what, how they're doing things.
Yeah.
Maybe different from me or the way I'm doing things. And that's just the way you get best practices.
Yeah, I think that's a great part of being in a franchise system, is that you have access to people that are doing the same business as you. So it's a great opportunity. How about, Lorenzo, do you have any advice for anyone that is just starting that research process for potentially buying a franchise?
Well, I would say just take your time, do your due diligence, look at the leadership of the company, of the organization. Look and see if it's a leadership that's kind of standoffish, or you can't talk to them. I don't know how that looks, because I'm not in that kind of leadership or that kind of organization. Our owners, I talk to them on a regular basis. They will just shoot me a text message or email, or even just call me just to say, hey, just thinking about you. So we have a great leadership team, great support team, great staff. But I would just tell people just to do your due diligence, and to read the FDD, the franchise disclosure documents, read all that stuff, and just take your time. It's very important. If you're going to go to the level that you want, it's very important that you do that.
Yeah, I love that. And Lorenzo, I also liked that it's just as important for you to figure out if they're a fit for you as they are trying to figure out if you're a fit for them. It's, I think, the best way to kind of go into that relationship, because there will be times that they make you happy and times that they frustrate you. But I think that overall relationship and fit will pull you through all of that. So I liked that you said that.
Absolutely.
And anything else that you want to say as we wrap up? Again, I appreciate your time just kind of talking about it. Though, the one question I would ask too is, I think it's really hard and we get it a lot, is how do you figure out how much money I can make? There's restrictions around franchising. And so how did you go about trying to figure out, and again, you having the option to stay in your current job as you built the business and scaled up, I think probably helped you project, but how did you go into it trying to figure out that number of what it was really going to take to break even?
I think that's a question that, I get quite often from even new franchises that come in and ask me, because, I'm one of the top performers in the organization. It's different for everybody. For me, the lifestyle that I live or whatever may be different from everyone else. I think you would just have to, see what you need to live off of and stuff. For me, it was, and I think that's why it took me 3 years, because I kept on saying, okay, once I hit this level, this, we call it MCV, monthly current volume. Once I hit this MCV, I can quit my job. But then I was thinking, oh, well, no, I don't want to. So I kept on just raising it. But I mean, in 5 years, I mean, literally, I'll go back. I went from $12,000 MCV to over $60,000 MCV in less than a year. And this was after COVID, of course. That's when I knew, okay, wait a minute, I got something here. Something is going on here. Now, you could look at it and say, well, maybe it's just a COVID, action, and it's probably not gonna last. But no, these were customers that, definitely had a need, and we had the solution to help them
Yeah.
out. It's been great.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time today, Lorenzo. We appreciate it. We're going to let you get back to business.
Thank you so much, Michelle. It was great talking to you too.
Thank you so much.